The show opens up with the last men's ball match between Saren High School and their opponents, in which our principal character, Die Youthful, is additionally playing. He is one of the promising players and has the obligation of conveying the group as the scouts from the colleges are likewise present to notice the players. It is a significant game for Kick the Bucket Youthful to secure grants for higher examinations. In a flashback, we are shown a scene from prior to the beginning of the game where Die Youthful sweetheart De Jong comes to meet him. She wants him to enjoy all that life has to offer for the game and proposes he play well and dazzle everybody. Anyway, pass on Youthful notification her concern and asks what's going on. At first, she rejects to let him know everything except after pass on Youthful demands she uncovers about her pregnancy. De Youthful is stunned to hear this, however makes an appearance to play the game in the present. De Youthful's group is losing the game. He checks out the crowd yet doesn't see De Jong among them automatically. 2 times Bite the Dust Youthful leaves the game and surges out of the court. The group mentor. What's more, crowd requests that he play. However, he doesn't pay attention to them and just leaves outside. He meets De Jong and tells her that she is the most significant individual in his life and is her future. Here we get to know that pass on Youthful left the game to reassure his sweetheart, and before long they get hitched. Following this, De Jong brings forth twins Xia and Shiwu, and both of their lives spin around acquiring for their family and dealing with their youngsters. The scene then, at that point, movements to 18 years after the fact. At the point when Bite the Dust Youthful lives in his mobile companion, Go Dayak Jin's home, his relationship with De Jong is stressed. Furthermore, they're near separating from De Youthful, having restricted training functions as a clothes washer repairman, while De Jong is an anchor for various media organizations. Their twin kids, Xia and Shiwu, go to a similar secondary school. Their guardians did, despite the fact that Bite the Dust Youthful doesn't live with them. He cherishes his kids and takes them out for lunch frequently. During these excursions, he gets some information about De Jong and guarantees them that once he gets an advancement, they can be a family. Again one day at work, Bite the Dust Youthful enthusiastically trusts that the ranking director will report his advancement. To his disappointment, the director advances somebody surprising. Rather, this profoundly maddens Kick the Bucket Youthful, and he defies the supervisor to reveal reality. In reaction, the administrator reprimands De Youthful's absence of instruction and affronts his family. Infuriated, De Youthful assaults the administrator, headbutting him and tossing him to the ground. He then, at that point, stomps out of the workplace, announcing his acquiescence. Continuing on, De Youthful visits an old client whose clothes washer and radio he fixed. Before there he sees a booklet that states, "Would you like to get more youthful?" Again in a weak voice, pass on Youthful answers with a yes and leaves. Later at night, he goes to the secondary school and enters the ball court, recalling that he was so frantic to propel his profession in the game. He then, at that point, gets a ball and wishes that God will make him youthful. In the event that he scores a bin, he attempts on numerous occasions, however falls flat and misses the container anyway. When he chooses to give it one final attempt prior to leaving, he scores. What's more, with a dash of sorcery he becomes youthful. Bite the Dust Youthful has no clue about it, and he enters a superstore close by to get some food. Incredibly, De Youthful takes note. She all working at the counter of the superstore. Believing he's as yet his more seasoned self, he chides her for working without illuminating her folks and attempts to take her outside, ignorant that the little fellow is, as a matter of fact, her dad. Shia yells back, calling him a more bizarre when De Youthful sees his appearance in a mirror and understands he's become youthful. He is left in sheer doubt. He then, at that point, goes directly to his companion's loft. Regrettably, bite the dust. Youthful's companion Dioxin additionally doesn't remember him and urges him to get out of the structure. Music assaults him with several game contraptions, and during this time he takes note their secondary school picture on the table. He snaps the photo in his grasp and contrasts it and a little fellow guaranteeing to be kick the bucket. Youthful shock. The two countenances show up the very same. Lastly, he gets persuaded that the little fellow is the youthful, who has changed back to his more youthful self. A short time later the two companions sit together. Furthermore, bite the dust. Youthful asks Yak Jin the explanation. He turned youthful again. The last option explains that God has allowed him a subsequent opportunity to make every moment count and make everything right. As of now we get to realize that the youthful trusts that De Zhang is content with a separation anyway. He has no clue about the amount she misses him. She is really cheerful these days since she got chosen for a meeting for JBC News, one of the most popular news organizations in the country. The following day, Dioxin takes the youthful to Saran High School and chooses to concede him there. It's a similar school where Xia and Shi Wu study during the confirmation cycle. Dioxin meets the youthful's homeroom instructor and quickly succumbs to her magnificence. Music continuing on. The youthful is put in something similar class as his girl and presented as Wu. Youthful, when Xia sees him, she promptly remembers him as the person who irritated her at the grocery store the night prior. Believing he's following her, she defies him on the school patio with two cohorts. She undermines him and advises him to remain away. Seeing his honest girl acting like a harasser, Wu Youthful is stunned. Later, he sees his child sitting alone in the cafeteria and approaches him to give him organization. Right then a gathering of menaces show up there, and the pioneer Jia Sung, who is additionally the chief of the great school b-ball group, hits Shi Charm with the ball and prods him. Wu Youthful can't endure his child getting tormented in front of him and chooses to instruct Jasung an illustration. He then, at that point, calls Jasung and exhibits his b-ball ability to fight him before everybody. All of the understudies in the cafeteria appreciate Wu Youthful for his way of behaving as he handles the circumstance tranquilly. In the following scene, Wu Youthful leaves to smoke a cigarette and chooses to do it in the posterior of the school. Working to his consternation, he finds Xia there smoking alone. Seeing his girl getting dependent on vices, Wu Youthful, going about as a dad, hollers at her anyway. Xia doesn't pay attention to him and leaves after this. At the point when Wu Youthful starts smoking, he gets gotten by one of the teachers and is taken to the chief's room. There, he lets everybody know that Xia is too similarly blameworthy as him, as she is soon got in the workplace. Wu Youthful trusted that if the educators chastened Xia, then she could quit smoking. Tragically, as opposed to chastening, the instructor starts beating her with a wooden support. Wu Youthful can't see this, and he requests that the educator quit holding his hand. The instructor blows up at his conduct and asks both of the understudies to call their folks next. Da Zhang shows up at the workplace and converses with the educator, admitting that the cigarette that her girl utilized has a place with her. Right then she sees Wu Youthful sitting next to them and is astounded to see his appearance precisely like her spouse's school days. She strolls nearer to him and looks at until the educator requests that she avoid Wu Youthful. At a similar time, Dioxin likewise shows up there in cases that Wu Youthful is his child amazing De Jong at night. After school is over, Wu Youthful takes note, the domineering jerk bunch behind his child and chooses to follow them incredibly. The domineering jerk bunch leaves and Wu enters the b-ball court for training. Here, Wu Youthful becomes acquainted with that his child is truly intrigued by ball yet never had fortitude to illuminate him. Realizing that Wu doesn't have companions, he then, at that point, approaches him and provokes him to a go head-to-head together. They play for quite a while and create a sort of fellowship bond. In the meantime, De Jong is meandering around with her companion, Chu, in the night roads of the city. There her companion proposes that she disregard her concerns and carry on with life to the fullest. Following the idea, Dajin shuts her eyes and attempts to approach a fellow standing close by. During this she almost gets hit by a vehicle, however fortunately Wu Youthful shows up there in time and saves her. He then, at that point, goes with her home and on the way communicates his longing to be a b-ball player. Hearing this, De Jong recommends that he avoid smoking. Also, make a solid effort to accomplish his fantasy. Following De Jong's ideas, Wu Youthful starts doing activities and attempts his best to avoid cigarettes and liquor. He then, at that point, concludes that he really wants to center around his youngsters and ought to help them to make their future splendid. On the other hand, De Jong recollects how Wu Youthful saved her from getting hit by a vehicle and finds it like what Youthful did to her during their school days. She goes to her cabinet, takes out the image of Pass on Youthful and is stunned to see it precisely like Wu Youthful, without burning through any time she visits Jochen's loft to meet the secretive kid. When Wu Youthful shows up in front of her, she takes out the image of her young spouse and starts looking at it. At last she did that. Wu Youthful should be the child of De Youthful. Any